MLB will hate what the Toronto Blue Jays are about to do. And as winter meetings have officially concluded, we have some new updates that have dropped last night into this morning once again surrounding the Jays' next move and what their plan is. And what was quite the active winter meetings for other teams, the Jays have big things planned, and these reports are very encouraging. I'm going to break that down as well as discuss a ton of other updates on this episode, including new reports from Schneider, Ben Nicholson-Smith, and more. You're going to want to stay tuned till the end of the video, folks, before we get into it all. And there's a lot. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. You guys' support has been absolutely unbelievable. You've been absolutely peace with the support, folks. Let's dive right into it. Winter meetings officially done. There's a lot of things to dive into in today's video. And let's start with an article that dropped last night by Bob Nightingale, and then we're going to dive into a ton of other things. Now, it starts talking about the Dodgers, which is very relevant. It says the Dodgers will make a bid for Tucker and are willing to pay in excess of $30 million a year, but only on a short-term contract. They have no interest in giving him the 9 or 10 deal he's seeking, which is notable because, he's seeking a 9 or 10-year deal, which is a little bit crazy. We'll see if the Jays go there, but Tucker has no interest in signing a deal that won't carry him through the rest of his career. So this is notable because a ton of teams at this point have already bowed out of the Tucker sweepstakes. The Phillies after they signed Schwarber, the Orioles after they signed, of course, Pete Alonso. And it seems a lot of these teams aren't willing to give him the money or the years. Will the Jays step up? Bob Nightingale thinks so. And he says they've got the itch now and believe they can get back to the World Series with a loaded and deep starting rotation. And his prediction is, now that of course the top is about the Dodgers saying they don't want to go for Tucker, but the prediction is from Bob Nightingale, the Blue Jays sign free agent Kyle Tucker and closer Robert Suarez while letting Bo Bichette walk. And this is interesting because obviously Bob is a pretty reputable reporter, got a signing wrong earlier this offseason, but he's at winter meetings. He's super in tune with this stuff and a lot of stuff to dissect here. So one, he's only going to sign a 9 or 10 year deal, or one that takes him to the end of his career. He's fairly young-ish still. But at the same time, it's notable because the Dodgers won't probably give him that money unless Tucker wants to take a short-term deal. But I don't think he wants to do that. And his prediction is that the Jays sign Kyle Tucker. Now, they also say Robert Suarez. We'll dive into a report for another guy as well here. But this would be, I think, a pretty good outcome for a great outcome for the Jays. You get the top reliever that's left and Kyle Tucker. But let's dive into some other reports that have happened. Now, in case you missed my video last night, feel free to check that one out after you watch this one in its entirety. But John Schneider went on to talk about the complex meeting they had with Kyle Tucker, and he said that his skill set fits exactly what we're doing, and also there was mutual interest in both sides. And then Jesse Rogers, he is an ESPN MLB insider, and he is very reputable. He said on radio in Chicago that he also thinks that Kyle Tucker ends up in Toronto. And we've heard this before, right? Reports and rumors about teams being favorites. It doesn't matter a ton in general, right? And of course, Keegan Matheson was on my show a couple weeks ago and he said favorites only matter if you get them, right? They don't really matter. This is a little bit different than that, just in the sense of there has yet to be a report outside of, the Jays. That's, really every team that's being reported in on Tucker, it's really the Jays, and we haven't really heard too many outside of the Phillies. And for every reporter, John Rossi, John Heyman, all these guys to say that they're heavily into Kyle Tucker, it's very, very notable. Now, Keegan Matheson did go on, an episode yesterday on TSN and said it's not a market they're going to chase. They're going to let it come to them. So I think the Jays are comfortable in knowing. You could see even Bichette's odds, at the bottom there, which he's talking about Tucker in this clip, but also Bo Bichette's odds. The Jays are favorites to land Bo, of course. It seems that at this point, they know they're probably the leading bidder. They know they're one of the only teams, if potentially the only team, that is willing to give him 8, 9, 10 years. It makes things very encouraging, especially when you also have Buster Olney coming out and also saying that he thinks that Kyle Tucker ends up with the Jays. And there's just so much smoke around it. There's times where I'm sure there could be a team that emerges and, from the dark. Now, he is meeting, I believe, with teams next week. New teams, I presume. We don't know who they are yet. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of them in there. I think the Orioles will be one, even though they just signed Pete Alonso. But this is very encouraging, and I'm all in now on the Kyle Tucker train, if you want to call it that. And I'm fine with letting Bo walk if you get Tucker and Suarez. Suarez, one of the leading save getters, I guess, in the MLB over the past 2 years, 3 years, instantly will be your closer. You then add Kyle Tucker. Your team is dangerous. Now, beyond that, here was the full quote from Jesse Rogers. I do think he ends up in Toronto. It's just not going to be at the massive deal people thought, offer. Even he thought a year ago, but more likely a really good deal at maybe 250 or 300 million. He didn't write million, but obviously not 250 or $300. Every team would line up for that, of course. But for 250, 300 million, you pair that with Jesse Rogers is saying with, I mean, you look at his stats last year, he's obviously incredible. He's only 28 years old, and he's only going to take a deal, that takes him towards the end of his career. If you get him for 10 years, 300 million, I mean, 8 years, 250 million, that would be an absolute robbery. And he's probably right. Like the market and Keegan Matheson, I know I keep bringing it up. I sound like a broken record here, but he said in that episode on my channel a couple weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago now, and shout out to him for that. He basically said that the market isn't going to be as crazy as people think, most notably in the money department. And now for him to say they're going to take it slow, it's because they know they're going to give him the most money, the Toronto Blue Jays. That's at least the way I'm taking it. You pair that with no other team has, I mean, is there anything to say about the Jays having the first meeting? Maybe not, because it was only a little bit of a drive to Dunedin from, Tampa Bay where Kyle Tucker lives. But for it to be a week, 2 weeks gap, I think that's pretty encouraging. Clearly he has interest there. John Schneider has pointed that out. And I mean, agents are saying that this is about the Jays, that they're everywhere. And that's what they said Tuesday. And bolstering their bullpen with another leverage arm appears to be the priority. So very encouraging news here. At the end of the day, folks, they're all in on Kyle Tucker. And it seems like, I mean, I can't imagine what this team will look like with the left-handed bat like Kyle Tucker in there, even though it might be at the expense of Bichette, though I don't think we should rule out bringing both of them back yet. Let me know down below your thoughts are. And this could be something that takes us into January. Hopefully that isn't the case. Hopefully they don't announce a signing like this on Christmas Eve or Boxing Day or Christmas Day, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But another report dropped last night, revealing that the Jays are heavily interested in this point in Pete Fairbanks, as Fairbanks has become an intriguing name for teams coming out of this year's winter meetings. And this is from a Yahoo reporter who I believe was at the winter meetings himself. Multiple sources tell Yahoo Sports that the former Rays closer has received a few offers, including teams that are interested but can't confirm the offers, being the Atlanta Braves, the Toronto Blue Jays, the Miami Marlins, and the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Jays can outbid every one of these teams if they want to. Fairbanks is very interesting. Now, his fastball velo slowly has ticked down, but he looks really, really solid. And for a guy who's only 31 years old, what will his deal be? 1, 2, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it ends up being. We know they're heavily involved in guys like Robert Suarez. They want to add, this is from Shai Davidi and Ben Nicholson-Smith, they want to add a reliever. I'm pretty in on Pete Fairbanks, personally. I'm pretty in on him. If you get one of Fairbanks or Robert Suarez, I'll be happy, just adding a bullpen guy. And that's going to be their next move, right? I think their next move is clearly going to be a bullpen arm while they wait out this lengthy Kyle Tucker and Bichette market. But, I mean, that would be a game-breaking pair of signings. Tucker and Fairbanks, Tucker and Suarez. You're talking about a team that just made it to the World Series and almost won. Can't believe, I imagine the MLB would hate, the rest of the MLB, especially the rest of the AL East, I know this for a fact, would hate the Jays getting both of those guys. But again, Robert Suarez is the top free agent available. This is from Keegan Matheson. They're interested in Pete Fairbanks as well. They're all in. They're cementing their place in winter meetings. And it all kind of stemmed from the the Dylan Cease signing, where you can see here, like Scott Boras followed up with Ross Atkins and said he was really impressed with what we had to offer. Because of course, Dylan Cease personally requested his agent, Scott Boras, to give him a deal with Toronto, Toronto followed up, obviously got the deal done. Things are looking good. Vibes are looking high. And most importantly, you pair the signing of Dylan Cease, which feels like forever ago, but you already have one of, if not the top starting pitcher in the market snatched up. And that's notable because the market's still going by pretty slow here. Framber Valdez might go to the Orioles. They need starting pitching. Tetsuya Imai, his market is going to be coming to a close here somewhat shortly. The Jays took their business elsewhere early with the Dylan Cease signing. They're supposedly and reportedly still involved in other free agents, which is crazy, but things are lining up perfect. And you can see from Keegan Matheson, the sense here is the Blue Jays are waiting on both markets to unfold before waiting in with offers. If they eventually choose to, and neither player feels super close to a decision between Bichette and Kyle Tucker, and they felt that pitching was most important, and of course the additions of Cease and Cody Ponce still pending. It is official as of last night. They can shift their attention to the bullpen or the lineup and bullpen now. So makes sense. And again, for those wondering about the Cody Ponce signing, we presume, I think it was made official yesterday in the transaction log, but it will probably be officially made official via Twitter and all those things later today. So that's intriguing. That's encouraging. And this team in general is encouraging. Let's go get Kyle Tucker. Let's go get Pete Fairbanks. Call it an offseason. And I mean, get Bo Bichette as well, but I think just getting two of those guys would be enough for me to kind of cement this offseason as an A+ from Ross Atkins. But let me know down below what your thoughts are. Do you want to see them get Kyle Tucker over Bo Bichette? Would you rather them pivot their kind of focus and knowledge on, or rather not knowledge, but their focus on Bo Bichette rather than Tucker? Let me know. You guys have been absolute beasts of the support.